Hello, my name is Pierre Merles from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. I'm here with Wilfried Grumman, our Chief Technologist for Public Sector, Healthcare and Pharma. So we're here to talk about security and safety, a very relevant topic right now, not just for public sector, but also for some private companies.
Sure.
What are you hearing when you engage with organizations around this topic?
So first of all, as you just stated, I'm mostly working with the public sector, and I think recently, certainly being here now in EMEA or in Europe, I don't have to tell you that this is, I think, top of the agenda. I think concerns about security, concerns about safety. At the same time, I think the European culture dealing with privacy and keeping that high and finding a balance in between these things. So there's a whole operational concern and there is a policy concern and how you match that. It's high on the agenda.
We have a strategy and technology on how to address those concerns with basically monitoring and protecting the network.
Yeah, I think what you are stating is correct. So it all starts, first of all, by people willing to analyze what's going on. And monitoring is the word which you use there. Now you can translate this to monitoring the physical world. Life goes on in everyday situation, and then people, a lot of are concerned about public safety and can we monitor what's going on as a first kind of application domain. The other one is, of course, there is this cyber world, and people are definitely now interested in looking on what's going on in our cyber world, because the world is digital and there's digital transformation taking place everywhere, and so you can just not distinguish these two ones. But you're right, so monitoring is the first thing. There's a lot of data coming in, there's a lot of data already available. There's data in all kinds of formats, being it video, video information or pure data information, structured, unstructured. And so the first thing what people have to do is to have a model that they can monitor all these forms of data. That's the first thing to do. And what we as a company try to propose, and of course there are a number of solutions to do that.
Right. Yeah. There's also social media, right? This is also a lot of the data which is available out there.
Well, that's a very good point. You know, it's not only the data which you manage or which you look at or which is your private data or your corporate data, in this case government data, but there is correctly what people call now this open source intelligence. There's a lot of information floating around, being it Facebook, being it Twitter, being it LinkedIn, you know, all these social networks, which absolutely are today contextual elements which allow you to do judgment calls.
Right, so in the case of passenger records, which is a big topic right now, I know in the European Union, we're able to connect some data that we're getting on the passenger with contextual data of social media feeds to give a more holistic view of who are the passengers, right?
Exactly, very good example. PNR is about extending the information we have around passengers. So you have the passenger information API, which is already known. But there is the idea that can we have more information about the people who are traveling, information which can come from social websites, right, or information which could come from just also airport intelligence or other intelligence.
So there we have a very good solution already in process of deployment, and without saying further, I think the same approach could be taken for private companies that are organizing big events or a big gathering of people. The same approach of, I would like to call it profiling and intelligence about who is actually coming to an event or a gathering could be taken. Yeah, what do you think?
I use totally right. Of course, once again, I'm repeating, you have to do that within the privacy kind of regulations, because you have to be clearly remain within that framework. What is the data going to be used for? What's the purpose of the data and the limited time that you use this information? So I think we are more than aware about that one. But I use always this three-step approach, saying, you know, data is enough. So first thing what you have to do is to add context. So you're going to collect this data, and the data comes information by adding context. And if you then, in fact, can correlate information, because that's the point what you want to do. You have the name of an air passenger, which is booked on a flight, and at the same time you see kind of his trajectories, his kind of behavior he has, which gives you to giving more insight in who is this person and what kind of ambition does he have.
So you're getting to the second phase of our strategy. We talk about monitor and protect. Here we're talking about detecting and targeting potential behaviors or understanding what an individual or a node has done on the network to be able to then, in the third phase, respond to them.
That's correct. And the why of that is, I think, also very important, that there must be a kind of automation in this process. So we have a lot of data. That can be video information, thus surveillance, or you can have a lot of information about machines, accessing or people logging in and behaving on a network, if you talk about the cyber world. So you need, in fact, then software which automates that process, because every individual can, of course, monitor and look at, but there's so much massive amounts of data that you need to automate that whole process.
Right.
And giving two examples now, if you talk, let's maybe take an example about cybersecurity. What we are really doing is that you say the most important thing to do is to, by sensing what is going on into your networks, is to analyze the behavior, because there are no edges. Everybody is in fact connected to everything, but you can check what people are doing. Is this person, why is he now accessing or trying to access this database? He never did this before. So you do behavioral analysis on what people actually do on their networks. That's, I think, a very good example of what you were saying there.
Yeah, that's true on the network, but it's also true when analyzing unstructured, rich media data in terms of voice or video analysis to analyze the behavior on those different types of medias as well.
Yeah. And there may be a very interesting kind of scenario which you today see is the situational awareness. The thing that, if you look at a number of situations, like we take all, I think here the metro or whatever, it's not called metro here in the UK, but the tube as such, and what are normal conditions for people when they behave there. But you can see also what are abnormal conditions. And then you create, in fact, an alarm. You say, this is not normal, what's going on in the patterns, how people move. Right. It's very interesting to see.
So many different use cases, and we're limited with time. But then there's the response to potential event. That's true in the cyber world, but it's also true in the physical world, and how we are helping organizations and public sector organizations respond or coordinate the response to events. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
But the data we monitor, the data we're going to analyze gives us insights, and then is the question, what's the actionable part of it? And the actionable part of that can once again be automated by indicating like alarms, or can be really for people who are going to start to do interactions, and you have a kind of a command of control kind of concepts. It's maybe hard to say that, this comes out of the military world, of course, knows this stuff for years. But it's interesting to see that today in operations of networks and operations of IT, is that this kind of command of control gets a kind of a de facto way of operating. So that we are vastly dependent on this infrastructure, we're vastly dependent on the security of our environments. Is that you say, you have a kind of a command of control set up which allows people to interact and act.
Right. So I mean, this is how we see, through what you explained, how this security and safety area that we just talked about also depends on the clouds, on the how information gets into the network and then is being used by organizations. So it is a complex world. A key element we haven't talked about is the human element, the human factor, which is in the middle, and sometimes the behavior of individuals is not always at the right level of awareness of the security challenges that an organization faces. So that whole change management and behavior, is this something that you see being addressed by organization or not enough?
Well, if you raise the issue, like I think we all as citizens have to maybe trained again on the new environment, the new context we are living in. What is the digital world we are living in as digital natives? What is in fact around us happening, and what kind of threats or what kind of in fact issues we can encounter. And there are a lot of programs done, I think, certainly by companies like our company ourselves is doing it, is how to train people that they are alerted about what is correct behavioral in a digital world. The same thing you see the European Union starts kind of the cybersecurity days. They try to alert the small and medium businesses or the individuals or the youngsters in schools about how you deal with IT in a safe and secure way. And that's an educational
I think
process.
that's a key element. It's true for the citizen, it's true for the employee, it's true for the client that accesses some information and sometimes not reading what the apps is suggesting that we surrender as privacy information. So lots of different elements that needs to be addressed. So, what would be a recommendation of next step for our listeners would probably be to enter into a conversation about where are they with their security level and safety level in their organization, and where do they want to go. And we've got a lot of use cases, a lot of best practices from around the world, and to have some form of conversation. It could be a workshop, it could be an extended conversation. Do you find those useful?
Yeah, I think you suggested already. I think the first step to really make people aware about is what data they have, what data could be available, and then what can you do with that data? Is in fact, what can you, as I just said, monitor out of it? What can you really then detect? And then, are you going to automate your supervision and your actions out of that one? But it all starts by doing a kind of a discovery workshop on, and a lot of people talk about big data. What is big data? For me, big data is connecting and finding all the data points in your organization, connect them together, and then have, I call it intelligence or heuristics to analyze them. But there's of course an element of real time also here, in this real time world.
Right. And there are some proactive measures that we haven't talked about. We don't have the time, such as encryption and really building up the fortress to make sure that, bad things don't happen. But if and when they happen, we've got immediate ability to respond to them and to correct the action.
Correct.
All right.
In the world of today, which is a digital world, I think it's up to us to understand that, see the opportunities, see the risks, and really have a profound discussion on the opportunities or the way to tackle the issues.
Great. Wilfried, thank you so much.
Pleasure meeting you, Pierre.